We have 120 leaders, senior leaders from business, from government and public service here. It's a T20, G20 event. Insights that are shared today will be captured, recorded and translated for the G20 plenary summit in November, Johannesburg.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tami Nkadimeng.
A very good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Oh, thank you to the one person who's happy that I'm here. Afternoon to you too. So I'm going to call out my panelists. There's two who haven't shown up yet, but we're going to leave the space open for them just in case they walk in, and then we'll give them their seating. So please help me warmly welcome Wendy Silinyani, who is the business school director at Minibos. She really will be speaking to us on the aspect of youth. A round of applause, please, as Wendy makes her way up. We've got Sandy Sosibiso. She's an innovation leader, so she'll be making her way up. We've got Tepo Matseba. He'll be speaking to us from Ivory Integrated Comms Agency. He really speaks on reputation, so please make your way up. We then also have Inga Wolf, who is representing CHRO. Please, a round of applause as they come to stage. I'm not a big believer in reading people's bios. I think once you get to the stage where you're speaking on panels, you're Googleable, so people can Google you and read more about you. So we're going to get right into it. I always believe, being the last panel, we're here. Are you here?
I'm here.
No, this is Dumisani Moyo. Sorry, Dumisani, make an extra noise for Dumisani. He is the head of marketing at SAP. I'm so sorry.
Extra time for him.
So sorry. So I always believe when you're the last panel, it's not even about regurgitating information. It's more about hearing where the feedback comes on from throughout the day, and then just poking it and then sparking thoughts for people to take home and mull over for themselves, so that there is not a lot of a repetition. So I'm here to do exactly that, to architect a message and ask people contradictory questions to perhaps some of the things that have been said on stage that will help us think a little bit. So I'm going to start right with you, Taponya. I'm picking on you because we managed to grab some time on the phone a little bit earlier on. And we are, of course, speaking about nation brand's reputation, and you come representing, that reputation and managing reputations. Do you believe that we as South Africa are building viable jobs that can actually help us with our nation brand reputation?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I come from a small business called Reputation First, and I'm part of an agency called Ebony and Ivory, so we're a bit old. It's fascinating to get that question, and I think when you look at the number of skills that South Africa exports around the world, you get a sense that there's confidence that the country and the institutions of higher learning are producing, even up to FETs, they are producing skills that are deployable around the world. I've got a young cousin who is a chef at a very successful enterprise in Dubai, and she spent a lot of time in Miami, and she comes from TUT here in Tshwane, so in South Africa. So that tells you at a basic level that we are producing quality. When you look at the type of skills that are produced out of the University of Cape Town, and the type of people that we attract, learners from around the world who are studying at UCT, and the types of programs, best practice that's produced out of that specific institution, you can almost believe that we are geared for the world of the future, and we are producing the right skills. I might be unfair if I don't talk about the University of Johannesburg and the extent to which they appreciate and they make it a culture to appreciate the value of future thinking and technology over and above traditional careers in the sense of fintech, artificial intelligence, and the extent to which they are fast-tracking and enabling automation and autonomous sort of technology thinking amongst young people, so that we are prepared for this future that we are approaching. I'm 46 years old, so I'm probably not supposed to be talking about the future a lot, because very soon I will retire. But I think what counts, when you look at what nation branding is all about and why country positioning, country branding matters, is that you want to prepare the country to import the right level of product, but also to produce enough product and services that we can export around the world. And part of that export proposition is exporting people.
Yeah.
It's not only attracting investments into the country, it's not only attracting the talent from other parts of the world, and positioning the country is not just about trade and investment, but it's also about the culture, the sports.
We're going to get to that aspect
and so later. I thought, to answer your question, I think South Africa is on the very, very right track.
Okay, thank you for that, Tsepo. And I ask this because I heard a lot of passing over the baton. But the truth is, a baton doesn't change. If you pass it on as it is. And so my question was, are we really preparing younger generations for the future, or are we just passing over the baton? So my question was, do we really have viable jobs that can help us build the nation's brand? But we'll come back a little bit later and I'll poke a little bit on that. Wendy, let me come to you. I've heard a lot about entrepreneurship. Now, I was in entrepreneurship for 20 years, and I say that because I had a fixed job. And so I was helping whoever started that business, those businesses, as an entrepreneur to deliver. Whether I was exco or I was middle management or I was an intern or whatever, climbing as an intrapreneur. And I used to fear being an entrepreneur. And I think I used to fear it because we grow young people to have this false facade about a salary comfort. Until I got to a point where I was earning more in an hour than I was in my monthly salary as an entrepreneur, but I was dabbling in both. But where my fear becomes about also punching the one over the other is, can we afford a world where there's just entrepreneurs? Because then who will deliver the work if there are no entrepreneurs?
Thank you for that question, and also thank you for the opportunity to come and share my insights on under the theme. I think let me start by saying I started my business as a journey for myself to say, okay, I can't find a job, and at the same time, what skills do I have, and how can I monetize the skills that I have? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was fortunate that I had somebody that walked a journey with me in starting my business, who was a business coach at that time. That enabled me to see the world of entrepreneurship and many other young people who wanted to step into entrepreneurship but didn't have the skills, didn't have the know-how, where to find opportunities. And that enabled me to create a platform under Virtue Business Solutions, where we create opportunities for young people to come and learn about how to get into business and where to go in terms of opportunities where you develop your skills. That then later led into finding an opportunity within creating the next pipeline of job creators through Miniboss Business Skills. Through Miniboss Business School. And what Miniboss is an international business school that teaches children from the age of 6 to the age of 19 about entrepreneurship, about leadership, and taking them into a practical incubator where they actually start a business. Now imagine a child at the age of 6 understanding business language more than adults. So to answer that question, it is possible to have a bit of both.
True.
We're looking at the future, and it's a question that I asked myself as I was coming here, as to what kind of South Africa are we building for the next generation? And what kind of future are we shaping? Is our education system aligned with the type of future that we want to build for the next generation? So I believe in shaping the future and also equipping those who will be running with the future in a way that is matching, in a way that is aligned with the kind of South Africa that we wish to design.
I love that you answered that way. Because I think if we're going to speak anything future, we first need to be in agreement of what we're building towards. Now, I say message architect because I don't believe that we lack conversations. I think what we lack is understanding. And if everybody who is in humanity starts to understand, then we will fight towards the right thing together, whether educated or not. And I say this because I've been in rooms where I ask people, are we fighting for equality or equity? And even people with degrees can't agree because we love to use big jargon, then we are confused. So that's the first place that we need to start. What do we actually want to create for South Africa in the future so that we can then all move towards it? I don't believe South Africa is lacking education. What I think we lack as a nation is literacy. And we often do not look at literacy, we look at education. And that takes me to my next panelist, who's Sandiso. And I'm going to ask you this question. So I'm not known to be shy to have courageous conversations. So we're going to have courageous conversations today. We learned from COVID-19 how effective, yes, it had its downsides in terms of working and mental health. I'm not discrediting that. But we saw that people were also very effective by working from home, right? We also saw that some people, they got to spend time with their children. It also helped businesses to save money, and perhaps we could take that money of the tea, coffee, the tissues, the whatever in the bathroom, and perhaps then put it towards CSR initiatives. However, we as a country have decided that a lot of times not seeing people work physically means they're not working. So what do? We took 10 steps back and we want people to be in offices. How do we even begin to start implementing an innovation culture if we don't learn lessons from such a pandemic?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just get right to it. So I primarily hire young people, so I deal with the bracket that no one wants to really hire because they're like a difficult bunch. And I say this and I'm a young person, so you know it's quite tricky. And we serve primarily large companies. Our clients is from Old Mutual, Standard Banks, and Sasol, etc. So we are exposed to a large corporation, but my company size is only between 15 to 20 people, and the average age is about 28 in the organization. I guess what we do differently is that we probably have a bigger emphasis on productivity as opposed to the number of hours a person comes in. So we operate in a hybrid environment, so it's 2 days in the office and 2 days at home. And mind you, I say 2 days, 2 days. So we actually do 4-day week. So we work.
Everybody's per 4-day week.
Like, excited about that. It has its challenges. We've been doing it for about, I want to say 3 years. No, I think maybe 4 years now. I'll talk about the challenges just now, but I think we probably focus a little bit more on productivity and output as opposed to people spending time in the office. And that's kind of hard because if people don't come to the office, they sometimes don't accelerate as fast as you'd like them to because they don't have the necessary support. I think as a business owner, I can definitely say there's an appreciation for having your colleague next to you and asking silly questions that you wouldn't necessarily ask if you were at home. So it definitely has its challenges, and what I can tell you that it also does, because the generation I hire is typically young people that need to be supported and coached and mentored, we definitely have a bad retention rate in the organization. So yes, it's a 4-day week and it sounds great, but only a small population can actually cope in a 4-day work week. What that means is that we work 10 hours per day minimum, which means our day starts at about 7 o'clock it starts and it ends at 6 p.m. You're always on for that whole 10-hour period. You get home, you're exhausted, and you probably have to respond to an email. So by the time Friday comes, you're like broken. I guess the challenge that I just want to just conclude with is that it definitely does have high retention is an issue, so attrition is very high. The pool you're able to work with is super intelligent people that are independent thinkers, can thrive on their own, can deliver on their own, don't need much supervision. So therefore, a lot of the people you bring in, you probably have to look to take out the organization because they just can't cope. It definitely does improve productivity in the organization because you only have 4 days, your deliverables are all done by Thursday, which is great for us because we're able to offer our clients, speed to market, all of these things that clients want. But, as we look to the future of work, I just want to recommend organizations to not do blanket approaches. I think there's different ways you can apply the future of work, mechanisms. So some teams can operate in a 4-day work week. Some teams can operate in a hybrid environment. Some teams can just be measured on productivity. And I think if we look to just diversify about how we work, I think we'll be able to attract more talent and retain talent as well.
Fantastic. And that's the beauty of conversation, is understanding that two truths can coexist. It's not about black or white. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that in my country. But there's a middle ground, and you've got to take the nuggets that work for your organization and prepare it for the future, and the future of jobs. So, Jumzana, I'm going to come through to you, and you're the head of marketing at SAP is known for technology. And we know that the future is moving towards the tech quite rapidly. So we can't speak about the future of jobs without including tech, without including innovation. But my thing is, as a country, because we're speaking specifically towards nation, brand, reputation, do we even have a voice to start speaking about tech and how it's implemented in the future of jobs when we have such vast disparities on somebody just even having a gadget and being able to use something as simple as a laptop at a young age? How do we even begin to speak? Because we often hear these things, 4IR, AI. Should we not be fighting for young people to know what a space bar and enter is before we even fight for all of that?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and good evening to everyone. I think it's such an important point, but I think first and foremost we do need to appreciate that technology is, by its nature, a catalyst of change, right?
Yeah. And
I think, unfortunately, the process is not sequential, right? You need to do many things at the same time. A good example of what I want to say is, you'll be hard-pressed to start your day and end your day without interacting with technology in one form or another.
Sure.
Right? And of late, of course, the hype is around AI. But I think what becomes important is matching these skills with pertinent problems that need to be addressed in the marketplace. And I think that's the biggest catalyst of innovation, is solving problems. So the most successful tech companies, or companies in general, are those that address and solve real problems and challenges in society. I don't want to get into problem solving yet, but I would think that focusing on innovation hubs is important, because that is the platform where the innovation or these great ideas in theory come into contact with problems that need to be addressed in society, right? So I think it's important to first and foremost be intentional about doing that. And I think secondly, I have I guess, the opportunity to travel quite a bit, not only globally, but mostly in Africa. And I'm always fascinated by how, firstly, how entrepreneurial other parts of Africa are. I do Nigeria a lot, I do other parts like Kenya a lot, and I'm always fascinated by how everyone is always trying to do something. But one thing that stands out when you speak to entrepreneurs on the ground is that they're all about solving problems that their societies are experiencing. So I think it starts there, right? And obviously you can look at other things around, there was a question earlier around the type of skills that we are producing in South Africa. I think we do produce skills, but the problem is where the world is going. Are we producing the right skills for where the world is going?
Exactly.
Right? And maybe we can get into a bit of AI and all of that a bit later. I'll be keen to share a piece of research that we released recently, in fact last week Thursday, around AI or Africa's AI readiness. So Africa-specific research into AI readiness, and because AI is such a catalyst, the jobs that are going to come into the market will be around AI, right? So I think it's important to look at it from that lens as well.
It's tough when you see what our country is dealing with. And I speak like that because my kids are privileged. So yes, I'd be tempted to want to do that, but unfortunately my work doesn't allow me to do that because of the things that I see outside and what other kids don't have exposure to. So it's a moral thing that you've got to balance. And you speak about societal issues. I'm going to point out a societal issue while asking you a question, Inga. Now, I come from corporate, which is known as a monster, I think, to most people. And the space I dabbled in was corporate affairs. So one of my responsibilities have been communications. And it used to be so painful because I think a lot of times people think in communications and marketing, all we do is color in and create pretty pictures. And I say this because you represent CHRO, and that's HR. And I think we're growing a pandemic in HR as well. Because HR is really the heartbeat where somebody first gets into an organization and then they're seen at the level they are and they grow gradually in accordance to capabilities and deliverables. But what we're starting to see a lot in corporate is HR is actually becoming the implementer of what CEOs want to do, whether it be nasty moves, whether it be they want to grow whoever they want to grow. How do we even start to speak about the future jobs if you're not even getting the fundamentals of certain arenas correct within organizations?
Hello everyone, good evening. I think you've mentioned a lot of things. First, I just want to correct, I was featured by CHRO, but I don't represent...
That qualifies you, it's fine.
But I think maybe even in my title, I'm the head of people. We've moved away from human resources, right, because we don't see people as resources.
Right.
And I think there's a growing change in businesses. They realize, I think when you have a really transactional relationship with your employees of they need to give as much to pay for their salary. It's about 8 hours in a day and making sure that they clock in that way. And I loved what you said about flipping kind of that narrative. But I think what we need to understand is that the relationship is a lot more circular. And I think when you have like engaged and productive employees, the business thrives. And so we've tried to think about that differently, or at least the company that I work with have. They position, when I met them, they gave me a problem to solve rather than a role, and we came up with kind of the title together. And what I'm seeing growing more and more in the people space is this deep desire to recognize your people as whole people and to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing for different people. And I think organizations need to be a lot more agile to that.
I wish we would build a nation with our nation brand and our reputation would be that of uplifting people according to their capabilities and not necessarily just their network and who plays golf and drinks together or whatever. I really think we'd have such a better brand and reputation as a country. I'm going to come back to you, Wendy, and I heard the word collaboration thrown out quite a bit. And I'm going to just pose this question to you straightforward. I don't believe we lack collaboration. I think what we lack is integration. What's your take?
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think we have lots of resources, and I think we don't lack courage, we don't lack cohesion. I think what we lack is, again, back to the vision. What is the vision that we are all building towards? Is it clear for everyone? Because you would find that there's so many organizations doing the same thing, just a little bit differently than this one. And that's not wrong. But the question is, are we all building towards the same common vision? And what is that vision? So in answering your question around integration, we need to build that vision. Again, back to the future. What type of future are we building for the next generation?
Yeah.
And what does it look like? Are we all putting our hands on deck towards that vision? Or are we wanting to get our scores on BE and that we're doing, we are complying in terms of triple BE, or we are doing our bit in terms of creating jobs. So I think that's what I want to share.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any questions in the audience? Feel free to raise your hands as we go about. We've only got about 20 minutes left, so I'm happy to take questions for our panelists as well. I don't know if we have a team with a roving mic, and then you can just pop your hand up if you'd like to ask a question, so that we're interactive. It's very late, so it's nice to be interactive. So if you've got a question, please just pop up, and then did you just pop up your hand? Would you like to ask something? Oh. Okay, we'll do it that way instead of just taking the questions right at the end. Tap, I'm going to come back to you just on building the nation's brand reputation on skills. And I'm going to address something that I think we need to move away from South Africa and just get your take. We're very good at picking unicorns as South Africa, just showcasing a handful of people in each industry. So even if we have great skills, we're not showcasing many people with that skill. And a lot of times we're picking people in accordance to what we think is cool. How many people follow them, how many likes, what brands they're wearing, what cars they're driving. And it's across board, because success doesn't really mean materialistic. But we've become a country that does that and picks just a handful of people to showcase. So how do we move away from this unicorn mentality in order to showcase our full skill set to the globe? Because, man, it is there.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that I'm pro South Africa, so as you can see, so you are likely to hear a lot of positive stuff. There are a few obvious realities that if a group of individual or an individual is doing amazing things, and we're looking for South Africa's top 200 performers in a particular industry, or top 100 entrepreneurs, the ones that really work hard and shine and promote themselves and position themselves are likely to show up in the room, and they're likely to be identified. It's hard to promote silent communicators, and that's why part of the personal development of every individual is to help them understand that they not only represent themselves, they represent their family, but they also represent the country that they come from. And one of the things that we teach in reputation management, or we share, or we coach on in reputation management for individuals, for executives, for CEOs, but also for younger people, is to think carefully about the digital footprint that we leave behind. Because often we have these amazing ideas and conversations, and we talk a lot, and we publish a lot. Sometimes we publish things that in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, will make it difficult for us to trade or be noticed or be identified as a talent in our own country, especially because we would have posted too much of Savannah as opposed to too much of the ideas. And there's nothing wrong with Savannah in the right context. But in the process of celebrating and being jovial, you have to recognize that at some point someone is going to go and search on some search engine to try and find your name to try and identify who you are. And what comes up when we search images counts. And as a country, I think that there's opportunity to embrace the principle of responsible commercialization, meaning how we behave in the workplace, that we are always watched, but also appreciating the responsibility that having fun at a pub, or having an argument with your sister, or having an engagement in your church, and that all of that is always being recorded. My friend is not here, and colleague in the media, the other day had an altercation around a very, very simple road rage matter that could have been resolved with a simple conversation, and it ended up with a long-winded issue to a point where he had to apologize. I'm glad he's back on the screen. But the essence of that story says in practice that the essence of that story, in essence, it says at any given point in time we are being watched. And if you are asking me, as a country reputation or nation branding specialist or champion, what do I want to say and share with leaders who are in this room? The fact that you are here says that you are interested in progressive conversations, and that you are interested in helping to grow the South African economy. So that's a positive if you look at the time. But importantly, that what you learn here, you probably share with the guy next door at home and in your environment and community, so that we are able to find this unique talent and share the story. But unless you put an effort in building yourself as a brand and appreciating the environment within which we operate and contributing meaningfully, I doubt that you can be blame us when we look for the top 200 and we don't find you.
I'm torn. I'm torn because I've been invited to top whatever lists where I can pay my way into those lists, pay my way into covers. Some of them are not genuine. But I also believe that we've got to allow, if we're going to talk about future, forget just jobs, let's just focus on future. We need to focus on authenticity. What we're not asking for the youth, particularly how I see it, is for boxed image of what a CEO should look like, a boxed image. We all have wider lives outside our actual roles. Sorry, I actually the light is in my eye, so I couldn't see that signage. What does it say? 5 minutes. Fantastic. And I'm going to come quickly to you and ask you, Sandiso, how do we keep authenticity alive in creating future jobs? I'm going to ask you to be really rapid so I can put it there.
Okay, firstly, I didn't know that you could pay to be a cover star.
Oh yeah.
I'm not so popular, so I'll do better next time. I think the challenge we're seeing in our business is that our young people is that there's a huge unemployment crisis. We saw the stats, was it 2 weeks ago or last week it was published. And my sentiment is that it's probably not going to be appreciated in this room. I think people want jobs, but people don't want to work. That's just what I'm seeing, and I think just back to authenticity. I think we need to. I'm very big on just doing the work. Whether people know me, don't know me, I actually don't care, because you don't pay my invoice. You don't pay you don't give me a purchase order or a contract. So I'm just all about doing the work, and I think for me, I'm trying to build a brand that is authentic, a brand that will stand the test of time, a brand that's got a very good reputation, a brand of resilience, hard work, etc. So maybe no one sees it right now, it's totally okay. And I just want to focus on just doing the work, and whoever sees me, appreciates me one day, even if it's on my tombstone, it's totally fine.
Cool. I'm a stickler for time, and I've been watching my time because I know when to finish. You've cut us quite short because we're meant to finish at 17:50. So can I just put in 2 more questions for my panelists? I think it's only fair because they've traveled all the way, and then we can take it from there. You see, I must be moderator everywhere then. I just will come to you, Inga. I want to ask you, do you think we're being fair to youth by asking them that in order to get into the job world, they need to have training?
I think we are maybe limiting ourselves to the jobs that exist today if we say that.
Good answer.
I think I think there's so many jobs that exist today that didn't exist 5 years ago. And I think that if you look at content creators, they're creating wealth and jobs for themselves. And I think we're starting to see more and more that a job description or I heard someone in the previous talk describe that we're no longer looking for specific qualifications, we're looking for specific skills. And that doesn't necessarily come from training. It might come from experience or knack, or you see, like you were speaking earlier about innovation, which I really liked, and I think about innovation being a mindset more than it is a tool or a task. And I think that kind of stuff can't really be taught in the training lab. It perhaps can be coached, but I think we limit ourselves if we think specific training is the thing that you need on your CV.
Yeah, and I love that you use the word coach. I think we also need to teach our youth there's a big difference between coach and mentoring, because I don't think they get that. I'm going to end off with you, Dumisani. Do you want to just touch a little bit on that AI readiness that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, no pressure, right?
Absolute pressure.
So we did a bit of research into, obviously we in the tech space and we sell technology solutions, and a real part of our work is helping the world run better, but more importantly addressing societal problems. Whether we're addressing those in society, in business, that's kind of what we do. So we ran this research to try and understand Africa's AI readiness, because a lot of future jobs are going to come from AI, actually. AI ethics, for example, is a hot topic at the moment, and how transparent and fair AI is. So a lot of work is going to come from there. So it was divided into 4 parts. The first part looked at the rise of AI and what it means in Africa. And what we found is that more than 90% of companies actually see AI as the future, but the overwhelming majority of them are not prepared already in terms of skills and attracting those skills into their organizations. We also looked at the type of skills that are in demand at the moment, and the reality is that traditional skills, traditional trades are fast declining, and on the increase is cybersecurity, AI developers, and Gen AI skill sets. Obviously that goes without saying. And then the third part looked into how do we win this talent war. And earlier on we spoke about remote work. More than 80% of Africans surveyed actually say that remote work is more important to them than anything else. And interestingly, that's a similar trend globally as well. So if you want to attract these young people that understand these skills of the future, you need to have some flexibility there. And then the last part looked at upskilling, reskilling, focus. And obviously, it's twofold. If you're in a job already, your job might become redundant, but it doesn't disappear from the face of the universe. It just moves to a different area, or it requires a different skill set. So that reskilling is absolutely important. And when you talk especially about skills like AI, and I like what you said, I don't think these are taught in a lab, but more importantly, I think networking and connecting with the right people and connecting the right organizations with parts of society that need that connection is absolutely key as well.
You did well. A round of applause. Any have me just saying wrap up. It is a wrap up the entire time. I think my final take is one of the things standing. We don't have time for questions, unfortunately. Sorry, I've really pushed it. I'm so sorry, but I'm sure you can network with them and then ask them the questions directly, because I'm sure they'll still be around. My apologies on that. One of the things standing between us and success is continuous progress. I think if we want to be focused as a nation, and I always represent South Africa, wherever in the world I go, I'm pro-South African, just go look. Anything that has to do with the betterment of it, I want us to do. But if as a nation we want to use the future of jobs and use it as a nation brand reputation, we have to move away of having bouts of campaigns and then moving away from that, next campaign, moving away from that, next campaign, moving away from that. And I heard them singing a jingle for Toyota, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, not so long ago we had this campaign, South Africa, We love you. We knew we needed peace back then, but we just had this campaign we forgot, and now we're going to start another one again for the same thing. Let's have progress, continuous progress, in order to reach perfection. That's one of the things that's standing in our way to growth. And at this time, I think Brand South Africa had actually asked to give the panelists a gift, and I think that was approved. So that's all that's standing in the way between me and leaving here. So please, a round of applause, everyone, for Wendy, Sunny, Tab, Sunny, and Ilka.